Mort, tell me first, what motivated you to write this op-ed? Why did you want to tackle this whole issue of income inequality?
Well, because it's one of the major issues facing America. I mean, jobs to me has always been the most important issue in America. It's the best family policy, it's the best fiscal policy, it's the best social policy we have. And we have had the weakest job market in the last 4 or 5 years, even longer than that, since I have been a grown-up. Now, I will also tell you that if you saw the Congressional Budget Office projections that came out just a couple of days ago, they indicated that the economy would be growing around the 2% rate for the next several years, and that in the next 3 or 4 years, the monthly job increases will be limited to 70,000. That's a disaster for America.
Mort,
so we have got to take a very different policy than we're taking now.
Mort, but what I found interesting in your op-ed was that you tackled head-on those who blame the 1%, who you are a part of, who say they are driving the income inequality. They are the problems here in the American economy. You said, no, don't blame the 1%. You say blame the government for not creating the animal spirits that allows this economy to create jobs. Are you just deflecting here?
No, I mean, I think that the basic and historic role of the private sector is to pursue their own interests. People do not say to themselves, no, I'm not going to take compensation for whatever I'm doing, whatever the market is willing to pay for me, because somehow or other this is going to be distributed to another group of people. What we need and what we have is a situation where we have a lot of jobs that are really much more remunerative to the people who have them. But they require education, and they require training, and they require skills. And those kinds of jobs are there, but the people who have those skills or education are in short supply. That's why what I said that we ought to focus on, and the government ought to focus on with many programs, on improving education, on improving technological education, on improving graduate education, and in supporting education in what we call STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's where the growth of the economy is, and that's where it's going to be for the future. And we do very, very little to do that.
Mort, tell me...
Gave one illustration, which is to import... people who do have these educations, graduate educations. We had 195,000 H-1B visas for this kind of import of talent. It's now down to 65,000. This is absolutely insane. Every country in the world wants this kind of technological and educational and engineering capacity, and we turn them away.
So Mort, I hear this often from various people that we need to improve the education system, and no doubt nobody would argue against that. But when you dig down deeper, though, I need to figure out, I need to find out what exactly do you mean by improving education, because some would then say, look at our education system. It is also just as unequal as we've seen in the economy in a capitalist society. Good education.
That's a very fair point. So what can the government do? Okay, just as they can increase the number of people with STEM education coming in from abroad who would provide a lot of intellectual firepower in the areas we need, you have to provide scholarship programs for these kinds of students so that, in effect, there is government support for their education. This is exactly what we need, because these people, when they go out into the economy, are job multipliers. For every person with that kind of training, we create 5 more jobs. This is exactly what the government ought to be doing, and this is exactly what I'm trying to recommend there.
More on the flip side, you mentioned in your op-ed that government has only hindered the animal spirits. It's not allowing businesses to flourish and create jobs. So what exactly has the government done, in your view, that's quashed the animal spirits?
I think anybody who had, pardon me, to the rhetoric of this administration, and indeed to see their policies, where they generally tend to blame a particular part of the community, that is, frankly, the people who are doing well. It's a political stratagem, in effect, to shift the blame off to some group that is doing well and saying, oh, it's all their fault, or they're grabbing all the best economic opportunities in this country. But these economic opportunities are available to everybody who have the skills. And my whole argument here is if the government is going to do anything, they've got to enhance the level of skills that are necessary for a modern economy. And that requires a higher level of education. And if we have to provide 2 million scholarships every year for people who take courses in engineering and science and math, where we have a shortage and where they have job multipliers, I would do that. I would, instead of spending a lot of the money on a lot of other programs, I would actually spend money on education at levels that we've never done before.
More on that front, the government or the president has proposed raising the minimum wage and making that a federal, a universal national increase to $10.10. Are you for that?
Look, at some point, I think yes. At this stage of the game, I think, frankly, it would be counterproductive. As I say, this is just another way. There's an old theory. If you raise the price of goods, okay, it is only natural that people will reduce the purchase of those goods. That's been the story of our economy forever. If you translate that to jobs and you raise the wages by definition, okay, you're going to hire fewer people. Just check it out with business. They will just tell you that. It's just in the ordinary course of life. But if you have money going into education at all levels to a much greater degree than it is going now, and create literally millions of scholarships into the higher educational fields, concentrating in those areas, as I say, STEM education, and import these people, we have a huge shortage. We will have a dramatic increase in the number of startups. And startups, by the way, if you look at the statistics, that has been the cause of all of our increase in employment for the last God knows how many years.
Well, no doubt, small businesses.
And we have a shortage of exactly the talent that you need to multiply the number of startups.